I'm Corbett Wall with DV Auction, here with your feeder flash for Friday, April the 6th, where the memories are really short in Kansas. We've been talking here for the last several weeks and longer, months on the placements and weeks about how these feedlots are so full and markets under pressure. Everything is just kind of weighing on your prices and on your future for the cattle market, and then all of a sudden we get a couple of days of the board being up pretty good, and everybody in Kansas thinks everything's going to be all right. Now I hope it is, but pretty optimistic out there in some of these feeder auctions, and we'll talk about them a little bit later. But look at the board on Thursday. June live cattle up $2.72 to end the day on Thursday at 105.05. Your spot April up $1.27 to end the day at 114.30. Your August out there that we were complaining about earlier in the week being under $1 was up $2.27, now almost 105 at 104.87 to end the day on Thursday. May feeder cattle up $2.92 to end the day at 138.05. April spot feeder cattle up $2.97 at 137.47, and that may be it for our feeder cattle futures, because they were all the nearbys consistently higher and not limit moves, but they all settled in up there close to $3 higher, and that kind of gives you the idea that may be all they've got. But your fat cattle trade has just been kind of trickling in all week. They had 16,700 head trade negotiated in your 5-area feeding region on Wednesday. That gives us a week-to-date total up through Wednesday at 51,600 head. We did have a little bit of trade on Thursday, but I think they're going to have to come in on Friday and do some more business because they're going to be a little short bought, even though they have been purchasing the last several weeks for delivery this week and next week. But you look at the market, and we know that it's quite a bit lower. It should be gaining some ground back because we've gained quite a bit on the board here through the middle part of the week. But if you look at the weighted averages through Wednesday on steers, it's only 116.49, so that means there's been quite a bit of trade under 117, and on dress steers 187.61, so that's working lower. But if you look at what kind of happened on Wednesday, there's a lot of 114 in Nebraska and places, and all of a sudden the northern plains are trading lower than the southern plains is. And if you remember, for the last couple of months they've kind of been trading at a premium, but not anymore. But on the dressed spread up in the northern plains, 184 to 190, mostly 184 to 188. On Thursday we saw a little bit more trade in Nebraska. It was only 114.5 on live basis, which is quite a bit lower. And I don't know if we had a lot of lower grading cattle sell or some junk or what, but a lot of 114.5, and that's after we saw these big gains in the board. I'm not sure what's up with that. But in Iowa they had some 118. Those farmer feeders are kind of holding their ground, and Iowa had 188 where Nebraska had 186, and I'm not sure why all of a sudden Nebraska's sucking hind tip, but it sure shows that they are. You look at the cutouts, box beef cutout values were sharply lower on choice. So choice has been hanging up in there the last week or so, and the select has been falling. We're starting to see a wider spread between choice and select, but Packers all of a sudden trying to move some of that product. They had heavy offerings, and your choice cutouts were down $3.08 on Thursday's session to end at 215.09, and selects actually up 13 cents at 206.31. Your slaughter is continuing to run behind last week, but ahead of a year ago with 457,000 through Thursday there. That's 15,000 less than last week and 7,000 more than the same week a year ago. Your actual dress steer weights for the week ending March 24th were back up $1, so they've kind of stabilized because they had been getting lighter and progressively lighter. But 878 pounds for an average dress steer there on March 24th. The week ended there, and that was 1 pound heavier. Your steers or your feeder prices On Thursday, your real-time index late in the day was up 22 cents at 135.54, and I thought it might be up more than that after you see some of these prices they were quoting in the high volume sales, especially in Kansas. But in Pratt, Kansas on Thursday, 3,300 head. When's the last time you remember Pratt selling more than Oklahoma City and more than OKC West? But it just shows how moods have changed. All of a sudden people aren't scared to sell their cattle anymore, and the ones that sold them, at least in Pratt and Salina, were tickled to death they decided to do it, because they would have never dreamed that those cattle would bring what they did. And that's the great thing about taking your cattle to an auction, is because you never know what's going to happen. They would have never dreamed in pricing their cattle as high as what they got on Thursday there. But feeder steers in Pratt firm to $5 higher. Some green empty Gant kind of stalker steers selling 10 to 20 bucks higher. Starting to see a little twinge of green out there on the horizon in places in Kansas, the Flint Hills, the Osage in Oklahoma, your major grazing areas. And guys that don't have any cattle put together, they're just all of a sudden getting aggressive, and it showed in those sales in Kansas. Your feeder heifers in Pratt were mostly steady. Some of your lighter weight feeders were steady to $2 lower. But in Salina, Kansas, they had 3,100 head, a good sale there. Feeders there $2 to $5 higher. Some stalker steers and heifers $5 to $10 higher. But look at these individual quotes. Pratt, Kansas sold some thin, cut in two Gant, but good quality, stalker type, the kind you want to turn out. 83 head of them, weighed 648 pounds, bring $191.75. You'd be hard pressed to get that for a 4-weight the last couple of weeks. That was $191.75. And then another set of lighter weights, talking about 4 weights, 73 head of 485 pound steers in Pratt, bring $209.75. Let's look up in the north central part of Kansas. Farmers and Ranchers Livestock in Salina had 62 head, and this was not just one quote. All their big cattle sold good. The big cattle, even weighing over 1,000, just bring dollars and dollars more than they've been able to get for them for a long time. But in Salina, 62 head of 880 pound steers bring $1.33. And that's your feeder flash for Friday.